All right, welcome everyone to the Chord Sprint Planning. Um, so we'll just get going here with the first item, which is the physical pod integration. So I've only put up 2 items here, but there'll probably be a few more. So one of them is a sequence diagram for Bootstrap and XOS interactions for new subscribers. And the second item is network and racking diagrams that I'll put together. You should feel free to add things in here as we go along, because that's where things are going to come. Actually, I'll move this one up already as well. And yeah, so that's the first item.
Isn't OLT already connected to that?
It was, and then somehow it's not working anymore.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you have some.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So any questions, remarks, points about this?
Well, so one thing.
I kind of really like us to start really focusing on this. We're going to get a new rack as of Friday. So the old rack will remain, and we can connect the old rack to the new rack. The new rack should be only for stuff that are going in a kind of clean way, as opposed to the rack now that's just a big jumble of cables. That makes sense?
So we'll add the storage for installation, the OpenStack cluster, XOS.
All that stuff has to go in there. I'm kind of hoping. I mean, I don't know how to best do this. I need people's help here because.
Yeah, I'm playing around with some of this stuff, but using kind of automation to go from bare metal up and some of the metal as a service stuff. I don't know if you're looking to do that or if you're looking for a lot of kind of hand manual, get the OS up and running, and then move on from that, kind of manual instructions.
Well, so here I'm really talking about the physical stuff. The software can come on top, and I'm guessing for a lot of the software will be a lot of manual work at first that we'll look to automate after. Once we figure out the exact Bootstrap sequences and all the rest. But what I'm looking for is really like how to best go from kind of the development pod that we have right now, where everybody is kind of free to wire up whatever the hell they want, to a rack that's a bit more structured. Yeah, structured and deployment grade.
And documented, I guess.
And documented. That's hence the documentation steps here. So
that part may not be realistically. We're probably a month away before we.
Well, so there are parts.
Anything.
There are parts that we know we can at least wire up and stick in there.
Oh, we don't have more equipment.
What do you mean? What equipment do we need?
You can't have the same fabric in both racks.
No, but for example, the fabric wiring does not need to change. Fabric configuration might need to change, but the fabric wiring doesn't need to change. Right? So those things that get moved to the newer rack are clean, in the sense that like the wiring remains roughly static, whereas the old rack can be used to temporarily connect things in. You see what I'm saying? How do you see this then? What's your approach? Because right now the rack we have is just a jumble of cables. It's not manageable.
Yeah, but it's one place that things can come together.
Yeah.
What's the point of the new rack?
So the old rack stays, right? The old rack doesn't move anymore, right? The new rack, we can start putting things in there, right? Like the servers, like the fabric, put them in, but the wiring stays. Now, any temporary connection you need to make for testing can come from the old rack. So we can basically connect those 2 racks together and roll in things for testing, but testing equipment doesn't make it to the new rack. So that we slowly start building it out. Otherwise, we're just going to start randomly connecting things, which is going to affect everybody. But I don't know how to best do this. It's kind of a hard problem. So any help there would be appreciated in some way. I know it's kind of like an open-ended question, difficult one to answer, but something's got to give. We've got to build something.
Are we expecting to bring that rack to? Is that the rack that we're going to bring somewhere, or?
We might. Yeah.
So you know how you want to build it out eventually, and you just want to start putting the servers and switches in their appropriate place, and then making the wiring neat,
Yes.
right? For things that you know aren't going to change.
Right. And slowly roll things in when they get ready to be linked together. And again, the old rack remains for like testing, and we can wire the old rack equipment into the new rack for testing purposes. Like if you want to get a tap between 2 points, you can do that, right? You'll be able to like get a tap between any 2 points in the rack, but you don't roll in the equipment for the tap in the new rack. You keep it in the old rack.
What is there in the old rack?
Everything right now.
But we are slowly moving the servers, everything to the new.
Yes.
If we move everything, what else would be there?
So not everything will go, right? There are certain things that we use for testing that are in the old rack. For example, the PK8 switch. There's a server in there that has a bunch of interfaces that is used just to connect things together and serve as clients in some cases. There's a whole bunch.
I guess the Fujitsu, the NoviFlow,
Yeah,
all
yes.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Fujitsu might come. The Fujitsu may come because it's pretty decent. But so that eventually in the fullness of time, the old rack should basically be empty, and the new rack should be full. But I don't think it's realistic to say move everything in one shot to the new rack, because there's too much stuff happening in parallel in different parts of Cord, and it's going to be hard to do that. Whereas things that like the servers are going to get wired, they get wired, and then that's it, right? The software on them might change and evolve. The physical instantiation stays the same.
So where do you want the fabric? Old rack? New?
New rack. Yeah, I mean, unless you say no.
Yeah, that's no reason to.
I mean, obviously, I'm not going to move equipment of people who own it and don't want it to move. But at some point, something's going to move, right? We can't just continue with this big jumble of cables that's just getting worse and worse on a daily basis. So, any comments?
So you are going to build a new set of fabric, right? So I'm thinking, why don't we just put that new fabric in there?
The equipment is not the same.
Okay.
Model numbers are different.
What's this new fabric?
I was building a second development fabric, and idea was to give this thing to production needs, whatever integration needs, while we have to have something to develop on. We can't just turn over the fabric to you, and I mean we can turn it over and it's functional at the moment, but for anything new we can't be doing it while you are doing integration. So the idea was we have enough equipment, different models, not the one we selected for Cord, but still OFTPA, so we can work with it. So I can build a second fabric for development while this fabric, old or new rack, wherever,
Have you ordered the
is
switches?
used for. I have them.
You have them.
Yeah, they're in my office.
So I was going to say we can still split one physical switch can be split, and then we can have two fabrics running on the same hardware.
How do you split?
Port based.
I'd rather not.
Anyway, but the point is that that you can, even though it's in a new rack, you can still use it for development. Right? You can still add features. It's just that the cabling doesn't need to change just because you're doing some more development. But I mean, if people are opposed to this, then we don't do it. Oppositions?
But this pod is also for the ONS demo, or is for the field trial?
No, it's for it'll probably be more for owners demo.
Then when do we add all those installation parts before the start of the sprint you want it to do, or it should be done next sprint?
Installation parts.
The installation of the cluster, OpenStack, and XOS.
That should be done as we go. Yeah, as we move along. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. All these things should come together at some point. So.
Because if it is for one ONS, we have only one more sprint left out of this. From this sprint to ONS.
So something that we gotta put stuff together, basically. Right? Okay. Admin GUI.
So in this sprint, I need to fix small bug that happens changing some packet back from XOS. I will finish the proof of concept we've done the last sprint about service topology, and on Friday we send out a mail to everybody who can be involved in that. So if you can find some time to answer that mail, I really appreciate. And I will move the subscriber portal from the last ONS demo into the XOS source code for development, new demos, and new subscriber portal. And this will require sometimes because it was integrated with the ONOS API, and we should move that integration to the XOS API.
Okay. All right, thanks. And you're the only one working on this?
Probably, yes.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah, Simon will provide me some help with moving the ONS demo.
Okay. Srikanth, close monitoring.
Yeah, in this sprint, we'll finish the Explore service in XOS design part, and then I'll move on to the implementation of it. And also, in the last sprint, we could not verify this VOLT events all through end-to-end. We see that VOLT switch is not coming up and all those kind of issues. We will troubleshoot and verify that VOLT notifications are coming to the XOS. The last one is we wanted to explore on this project called Silosca, which is a Silometer plus Monasca, and we heard that it is 10x faster than the Silometer, and we eventually need this type of system in our monitoring framework. So we are just downloading and see what type of challenges we have in the deployment of this module. So this is what Raghu from India will start working on.
Okay. So you're two on this.
Yeah.
I see you use a lot of subtasks in your tasks.
I use the subtasks, and I saw one of them getting reopened, and I closed all the subtasks and then closed.
Okay, because you. The reason why I say this is when I tried to close the sprint, the top level task was closed, but the subtasks were open.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go around closing things I didn't know if they were closed. I have no idea.
Yeah, I forgot to close the subtask before closing.
All right, cool. Fabric.
So Fabric, the main thing we want to focus on this sprint is to have vRouter and Fabric working together, and hopefully without an extra box, without an external box, without a box external to the Fabric. So Jono will have some stories under vRouter, but last sprint we confirmed that vRouter can work on an OFTPA switch. So right now we need to make sure that it can work on an OFTPA switch that is also behaving as a Fabric switch. So that would be Charles's main story, while I'll be setting up this secondary Fabric and actually spending most of my time on the Atrium release, which is also at the same time as the end of this sprint. So a couple of the stories that you see actually on the bottom over there are actually meant for Atrium, because we don't really need it in Chord. But anyway, they're here, so that's what I'll be working on. Because they use learning, and in Chord we're not using learning, right? So, and then Flavio will be working on the test on automated tests that he started looking at in the last sprint. And if he has time left over, we probably get him started on some other things, but I have to discuss with him exactly what that will be.
Okay. All right, and you're three working on this.
Kind of two.
2.5.
More like two. This sprint, more like two.
So that's a lot of story points for 2 people, but
Yeah,
it is a 3-week sprint. So.
yeah, I got. Yeah, I mean that's right.
Okay. XOS core devel, there's nothing. So we'll. Can this be closed?
Yeah, that one.
So I can mark as done. Okay. Oh wait. It won't let me. It won't let me. I'll figure it out later. Alright, I'll figure it out later. eComponents OS. Anything happening there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Training is all that's happening there with the. This is ecom/general OSSBS integration. We're trying to bring the
Okay.
AT team up to speed.
All right. Sounds good. So for the OLT, some of these items are actually resolved. Well, mostly resolved. They just need verification. I'm still waiting for a feature from PMC that allows us to match the source MAC on VLAN rules. Because right now, it's only like whatever comes in on a port gets double tagged and gets pushed out. We need to match the source MAC so that someone can swap out their RG after authentication. The Q&Q format, that's fixed. That just needs to be verified, but I think it's fixed. And I'll just move this guy up. This is also fixed. Just needs to be verified once again, but it seems to be fixed. So I still need to write the OLT pipeline for multicast traffic and test my multicast apps. So this will happen hopefully this sprint, maybe, if I find the time. And the Xavi CPE has been connected to the OLT. And I need to test it for forwarding traffic. It hasn't worked, but then again, the OLT itself hasn't been working, so that's something I still need to test as well. So it's a lot of story points, but a lot of these are mostly resolved, so it should be okay. Any questions? No? VTN.
The first thing I should do in this sprint is make an instruction to set up core VTN. Ping needs it for core, and I think Scott also needs it. The second one, make virtual gateway, make this configure, is actually done. And create a wire management network. This is from.
Yeah. We need to talk about that some more.
Yeah. And fourth one, implement REST code for XOS. It is needed when ONOS or CodeVTN app is restarted. It should fetch some existing service dependencies from XOS. So you need to implement this. And the last one is I'll do it if I had time.
Sorry? The last one is?
The last one is make network config verification.
For?
core network config.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, if I'll do it if I have time.
Okay. And you said the user guide that you were putting together was for mCore?
Yeah, Ping requested it because the mPort started deploy last week, and they decided to use CoreVTN, and they wanted the kind of instruction how to set up CoreVTN and OpenStack things.
Okay. I would say your focus should be to get Cord working.
Yeah.
Helping mCore is fine, but it shouldn't distract you from the more important parts.
Yeah, sure. I think this is also Scott also needs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, making documentation is never a bad thing, but as long as we're at a state where everything kind of works.
Yeah, this will definitely be a help to us on the XOS side, and we appreciate the documentation.
Sure. Cool.
You've already tried a service chain through VTN?
Well, through VTN, no.
Using VTN?
Like actually configuring a data plane with VTN and then trying it out?
Yes.
No. But putting two compute nodes next side by side and putting in the right rules for each one of them passing traffic, we've done that.
Oh, okay. So manually programming.
Yes.
I mean, more important than documentation is to try and see if it actually works first.
Yeah.
Right? And then you can document it. But
fair enough. That's a good point too.
Just try to create a chain.
Yeah, we managed in XOS to chain between two instances as well, so that was working for us. And I think one of our next steps was to chain it on out to the internet somehow.
So you're saying you've done that? Okay.
Yeah, we've done it once, and it worked, so that was good. But probably more automated tests. I think that's on down someplace on the list is to have some XOS tests for service chaining.
Okay.
I don't know what to do next. For my side, I created 2 networks and verified that make a dependency works fine with just VMs. And if I had to do something else in this sprint, maybe I can.
Okay, we can.
So there are the other combinations of uses of VTN, bidirectional, making sure it works for peers within a slice, and so on.
Yes.
How are those captured?
Yes. So yeah, maybe we should. So there is definitely the one case where the service dependencies have to be bidirectional between communication between 2 services has to be bidirectional for services that want to talk to each other. That's one thing that we need. But we need to define an API for that, and we can talk about this. There's the I would say that if we can validate that things are working manually for now,
What do you mean manually?
Like manually setting up VTN, getting it running, and programming a data plane, right? Not integrated with XOS and everything.
Oh, I see.
Even if it is integrated, that's fine. But I'm just saying, in isolation, it works. Then we should consider writing tests, whether it's test on, hopefully not, or something else to exercise that and validate that it works upon build. That's probably always useful. That will be useful. We can talk for other features and other use cases of VTN probably after, I would say. Is that okay, Larry? Take that as a yes.
Yes, that's fine.
Cool. Okay. Upgrade OpenCloud?
So I think last time we talked about maybe breaking some of these tasks up into smaller tasks, and I forgot to do that. So maybe we could just, I mean, this work is still underway, but it's given this breakup of tasks, it's hard to kind of chart the progress. So I have got this on my to-do list that I need to give this some attention, and I'll come back and clean this up.
All right. How related is this to Chord, really?
It's a deployment of Chord.
Okay.
So think of it from a Chord mainline as exercising and testing.
Okay.
It doesn't test everything, but it is part of operational deploy.
All right, sounds good. Deployment and scaling, David?
Yep. The first task here really is kind of going from that bare metal. You talked about hardwiring or getting the wiring diagrams going, and then from that deploying software. So this first one's really, once you've got that all wired up, how do I go from hardware that's cold and no power to getting the compute resources up and running, as well as the switches up and running and configured into ONOS, hopefully as much as automatically as possible. The first one's really focusing on getting the compute nodes up, and then once we have those compute nodes up, it also is spinning up and deploying Exos components, which is the second one, onto those bare metal nodes.
All right. Okay. Have you done? Do you have any progress on that so far?
Yeah, we have. We've got on our cluster up in Petaluma, we're running Metal as a Service, and so right now I'm automating the life cycle. So they can come up and we can manually see them. They'll pixie boot, and we can manually take them from new through commission through deployed. We're just looking to put some automation on top of that now.
Okay, and so all that work and code, where does it live?
Typically, I've been putting just on GitHub for this stuff that we're doing.
Could you post that on the mailing list somewhere? Well, on the mailing list?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Viroder?
Yeah, so there's a couple of tasks left over from last sprint around developing a video environment for testing vRouter and setting up the vRouter in our hardware pod at OnLab. I may actually hold off on that second one until we kind of know the result of Charles's work as to whether we can get it running on the Fabric easily or not. And then the other big thing for me this sprint is looking at the PIM application on us, so investigating what we need to do. And I know one thing we need to do is send PIM joins, implement the code to send PIM joins upstream, so I'll do that. And then the remaining tasks are tasks for the Tech Mahindra team. They're going to continue working with the AT&T setup in Atlanta, and some of them are going to work on unit testing the ONOS applications, and this will get them familiar with the code so they can work on other fixes and features for the vRouter applications.
So for the PIM application,
yeah.
Well, whether you write your own or you reuse an existing one,
yeah.
The PIM joins are a result of a REST API call.
Right. Yeah. Do you know that API yet, or we have to define it?
Define it.
DevelopPod?
So the first task here, there's still some, I think a couple of VTN integration tasks left over from the last sprint, and I think Scott is mainly the one working on that. The other tasks here, so I think there will probably be some overlap with the tasks that David was just talking about. So my goal for this sprint is to come up with a recipe for installing OpenStack plus VTN plus ONOS plus XOS on the the physical hardware at ONLab.
And you're looking to do that via Ansible or what?
So I can send you some information about the way that we installed the cluster for the ONS demo, and that we're using it OpenCloud. But it's basically Ansible and Juju, essentially, is what we're doing.
Oh, okay, excellent.
So hopefully it'll fit in really well with your mass install.
Yeah,
it should keep in the Ubuntu toolchain.
Yeah.
So I think we should coordinate on that, but
absolutely.
Yeah.
Can you put these? Can these conversations happen on the mailing list, please?
Yes, they can.
Nah, we'd like to keep you out of it, Ali. But.
Cool. Great. So not that I want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so I think the last task here then is concerning the new VSG model that emerged from our discussions out there last week. That Scott, I think, is going to be looking into implementing the VSG in a container in a VM model, and just that Don is working with.
Okay. All right. Yes. Well, as part of the VSG activities, we have to get the images from Don and from Sienna for their VSGs for their
So
VSG.
Don,
Sorry.
yeah, Don gave us a dump of what he had, and I haven't had a chance to take a look at that. I sort of doubt that Scott has looked at it in depth either yet. But Don seemed to think that it would be sufficient to get us started.
All right.
Yeah, my plan for starting Cord 89 is to take a look at all the stuff Don sent us and understand, exactly what it does and what scripts and automation we have, and then proceed with a plan from there.
Okay.
Connecting some dots, I think Don is not doing anything, or we have punted parental control out of the VSG, which means that there's not anything left for the subscriber GUI to do. So we probably ought to reconsider that, if I got the VSG story right.
Well,
I hate to lose that because it's an interesting and important part of the whole package, but maybe we will continue to have two parallel VSGs, which is perfectly fine. One with parental control, one without.
Yeah, if we move, Don seemed to think it was okay if we use containers instead of namespaces. As long as we did containers, I would think we could, at least for the proof of concept, the 10-user thing, do parental controls inside the container for now.
Okay, as long as you use containers, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we probably should, because the model we came up with last week was slightly different than what Don was suggesting. So we might want to revisit this a little bit.
Well, it's not that we were using Don's code straight up. I mean, my understanding, like that Scott just said, that there were some degrees of freedom that we would take advantage of.
Okay. Okay. Well, yes.
Not to disagree that we need to make sure we're on the same page, but my understanding was that there was a way forward.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we can talk. We can figure this out. But all these things are part of, like, they can work in isolation, but they're part of integration. So we really got to get going on the integration part. I'm kind of getting worried here. Okay. And XOS core devel. Kozat.
Just looking over the list. Larry, do you see anything here that you think is a priority for the next sprint? Nothing. I mean, I think
it looks like 436 is done.
Yeah.
I thought 437 was done.
I'm just going to drag them in. If they're done, you can just close them.
Mateo was working on 475, but it's not done.
So does that go in, or does that go in?
Yeah, why don't you put it in, and then we can figure out what to do with it. But
okay.
Work will continue on it.
Yeah, some basic tests, but they are not automated at all.
234 will still wait a little while longer.
I think Stappen is working on 238.
Yeah, but it's kind of a long-term thing, so I'm not quite sure. More exploratory.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it ought to be recorded. You're probably right. Right. So if I think what you have there would be, go ahead and move 238 up, and it's likely that either these are done or we'll carve off some subcases that we think we can get done.
Okay. Anything else?
For this sprint, no.
Let's move on to testing. There's nothing in testing. All right, so that.
So really, there is one issue that I don't know on which epic attach
Okay.
it.
Which one is
Because
it?
I will have to do some work for Mark and record.
That goes into the OS.
Okay, so I have a question.
Yes.
Why different core are somehow behind Honors or core?
Ask this guy. I don't know why. I don't know. I'm doing cord, man. I don't know about the rest.
I didn't really understand the question. Are you asking why the projects are being run as 3 separate projects?
No, why we have Honors and core, and eCord is under Honors.
Because the scope of eCord is still very small.
Yeah.
Okay.
Compared to Cord, which is like a gigantic project right now. Kind of unwieldy at this point. Right, so we have 48 issues and 161 points. Given that we're closing about 60 every sprint, we have a problem. But yeah, I don't know what to say, but we'll I guess a few of these stories are more or less closed anyway already, so that's already some points gone. But seems like we're taking on more work than we can chew. But I don't quite know how to resolve it right now. So yeah, we'll go with this. Any parting comments?
Ideally, how much should be?
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 years. So we are taking 2x.
Seems like it. I don't know if people are overly ambitious or missizing the project. I don't know. I don't know.
Like the you want to keep asking.
Sorry.
So the green one that's a cord, the develop pod, right?
That's a lot of points, yeah.
Right.
Is it?
I mean, probably not going to do all of those.
But at this point,
You sort of have to, right?
well, do we? I mean, at this,
In the next 3 weeks?
so so the question is, DevelopPod is the one that's the instantiation of Cord on Cloud Lab.
Oh.
How much time should we be focusing on?
Well, I think it's kind of leaked over into general, though.
Right. So when I wrote down these tasks, I was thinking more specifically about the 3 servers that you brought up at ON Lab for me last week, Ali.
Oh, okay.
So I guess that's not really the physical rack that you're going to be setting up, but it seems like a good proxy to practice on until that thing is ready.
Well, the physical, well, those 3 servers that I brought up will be moved to the physical rack.
Okay, so they will be the actual head nodes of the physical rack.
Yeah, unless someone gives me new servers.
Okay, because they're old Dell R410s, right, from 2010, so hopefully they won't die.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. That's a good point. I mean, we probably would need to get some new servers.
Well, I'm sorry, where'd those come from? Are those the ones that I sent out recently, or are those from the ONS?
No, those are the ones you sent out recently.
Okay, I got a pile more, so if they break, let me know.
All right.
In fact, if you got room for storage.
No, but I mean the head nodes are going to be kind of heavily loaded. They probably need a bit more horsepower.
They got. I'm sorry. I thought that we had ordered head nodes for the pod. We ordered. I thought it was 6 servers, so that should include 3 head nodes.
No, we only ordered 3 servers.
I did not realize that. Well, so these are plenty beefy from a processing point of view. They just have 1 gig interfaces on them.
That's fine. I mean, they'll be attached to the management network. They're not going to be on the data plane.
Yeah, so I don't know that that's a problem. I mean, they're perfectly fine servers.
Yeah, it should be okay, hopefully.
Okay. Maybe in the meantime we order new servers? Yes? No? Perhaps?
I mean, there was an argument that it would be really, really nice if we had homogeneous set of servers, but...
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. No?
It may already be too late for homogeneous if you put in another order. You're never quite the same.
You can just you can go make some bezels of your own and make them all look the same.
No, but I mean, the head notes should be. I mean, they don't need Mellanox cards and all that kind of stuff, but it should be roughly similar. You don't think so?
Well, I don't disagree. The question is whether you want to spend 25 grand to have that. Right?
Well, we don't have to. I mean, David. I mean, at Siena, you're bringing up 6 of the latest and greatest servers, right?
Oh, we've got more than 6. No, we've
Yeah,
got
right. So,
we've got a bunch of the latest, greatest. Total number is, let's see, we got 9 in one rack and 7 in the other.
oh, you got enough to send us some. Just kidding.
I take bribes.
I think we can get by with our 410s for head nodes.
Okay, so we'll build a poor man's cord.
Yeah, but as it's just developed.
It's called
Would that be like a minor chord?
Oh, no, it'd be like PMC.
Ooh.
What did he say?
A minor chord.
Word.
All right. Well, okay. Well, we'll have this. We'll have this discussion.
We have to use that somewhere. That was really good.
Sorry.
Minor chord.
The 4th, the 5th.
All right. All right. Well, on that wonderful note, thanks everyone, and I'll start the sprint probably around 5 p.m. today. So if you want to add stories, remove stories, just go ahead, and at 5 p.m. I'll start the sprint. Okay.
Definitely close out the ones that are completed, so they don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how we sandbag to the next one.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Wait for the line to go down.